Hello, welcome to today's video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about why recruiters ignore candidates who are actually qualified for a job. So, why do they do that? People want people that are qualified, but yet go about not even employing those that are qualified. As a recruiter, I'm here to tell you why. Have you ever come across a job, probably, and the job somehow felt like this is you? You've read the job requirements, you've read the description, and to you, you believe that this is me, this is so me, this is 100% me, this is going to be the perfect fit for me. And then you end up clicking that apply button. But somehow we don't end up in the interview stage. Somehow that was the end of the application. No one called you back. No one even sent you that you were rejected. Nothing just happened at the end of the day. I'm here to tell you that most times the actual reason why this happens might not even be the reason that you're thinking. It might not even be why you're thinking. That's not why it's happening. As a recruiter, I have seen very qualified candidates get rejected over and over and over again. And here is why. Most times, the misconception that job seekers actually have is that recruiters, once they see my application, they are going to call me back. I'm very qualified for this role. So, definitely 100%, I am going to get a call back. It doesn't happen that way. Now, let me tell you, I, as a recruiter, I post out a job description, and then there are about 200 applicants, right? And inside the 200 applicants, I happen to shortlist this 200 to 20 applicants. I shortlist 20 people from those 200 applications that are qualified. Then inside the 20 of them, I might not really have enough time to interview 20 candidates for a role. I might not have the time. I might just be very busy to interview 20 people. So I want to narrow it down. I want to narrow it down to like 5 or 10. From 10, I can narrow it down because at the end of the day, we are just looking to employ one person or maybe two people. So I can't end up interviewing 20 people. Now I have to go through those 20 CVs again to now spot out people that are actually not really what I want at that point. Not like they are not qualified for that role. Don't get me wrong. Not like they are not qualified for that role, but I just have to narrow it down to 20. So at this point, you just have to stand out because if you're not standing out at that particular point, you're losing out. You're going to be rejected. You will definitely not hear anything back. It's not actually because you were not qualified. So now let's get down to what actually happens during this process of narrowing down our 200 list to 20 applicants. So the first thing that could happen when this happens is I will first of all ask myself as a recruiter when I come across your CV, the first question I ask myself is why is this person the best person for this job? Why is this candidate the best person for this job? I'm looking at your CV and then I'm trying to point out why you're better than the remaining 19 people because we are trying to shortlist our list to 20. So I'm trying to find out why are you even better than the other 19 people? Why should I get to interview you rather than interview the 19 others? And then I'm looking at your CV. There are just things that are omitting. It's just not aligning. There are points I'm looking at through. There is some arrangement or maybe a certification or something I'm just trying to point out to. But somehow your CV just does not give me that thing that I want. Your CV does not, it just does not sell you. It just does that this particular thing I want. Sometimes recruiters work with vibe. So sorry to tell you that we work with vibe, we work with how we feel. It might not even be that your CV is so wrong or what you have in your CV is wrong. It might just be that our spirits did not just tell us that this person is what you interviewing, especially when you have a good number of people to actually interview. Your spirit does not just sit well with okay, this person deserves the application. And here what happens is the structure of your CV, what you've achieved so far, where you transitioned from, the type of companies you've worked with, the type of industry you've worked with, what your job summary says, anything could actually prompt us to feel like, no, you are not worth interviewing amongst these 19 other candidates remaining. You're not worth the interview. And once we don't get that vibe that you're worth that chance, you're worth the chance to be interviewed, we just screen you out. We just screen you out at that point. Just move on to the next candidate to know what the next candidate has to offer. If you're lucky and we did not find something that really, really sits right with us totally 100%, there's a probability of us coming back to your CV to also come and check again. But the possibility of this happening is very slim. The possibility of this happening is very low. It might never happen. You might never come back to it, right? Because we are trying to narrow these applications down to how many people we need to interview, right? Another thing that could happen in this particular time is you having to bury your value. Let me tell you something. Recruiters are not the most patient people. I say it sometimes in my videos. Recruiters are not really the most patient people. You could bury your most, your most relevant qualification in the second page. It could be in the second page, and to you it's still in your CV, right? It's still part of your CV, still in your CV, right? But then recruiters can be very impatient. They might not even get down to the second page, especially in a situation where we are trying to narrow down qualified 20 people. We are trying to narrow them down to 5 or 10 or 7, depending on what number we want to interview at that point, we want to proceed with, depending on what number. So if at that point we are trying to review back between these 20 people, and then we are looking at your CV, and then your CV, you have your most relevant qualification or certification in the second page or at the bottom or the bottom part of your CV, that's interview with you. The interview with you might never happen because we might never get down to that point. You know that feeling I tell you that we can work on vibes sometimes. You know that vibe. That vibe comes from the first page. As we are looking at your first page, that vibe is coming. Oh, this person looks like okay, they look very promising. Okay, it's like let's just give this person a chance. Let's interview this person, and that's because probably your most relevant qualification you've stated it in your um, profile summary. You've mentioned it. You found a way to put, very qualified and very. You've managed to put your most relevant skills in your first page, and we've looked at the first page and we feel like okay, this person is worth our time, is worth the interview. Then at that point we are going to call you for the interview. So what am I saying here? Those important skills and qualifications you have, find a way to attach it to the first page. You might not need to come and write it or rearrange your CV and make your CV look awkward. No, in your profile summary, there are spaces or chances for you to attach it. If it's a certification, there are some certification courses that have abbreviation. You could I see people write their name and in brackets they could put some of the professional certification they've acquired there in abbreviation. So once you look at their name, you're seeing their qualification there. So the first page just has to sell you. You don't have to bury your most important information down to those other pages, like the second, third page. Recruiters might not get there when they are trying to shortlist between 20 people, when they are just trying to narrow down the list so that they can interview how many people they want to interview. They might not be patient enough to get down to those pages. So this is why your most relevant skill qualifications, find a way to state it from the first page. All right. Another thing that could happen during this particular time that makes recruiters actually not hire even qualified candidates is you applying late. You applying late. There's this thing I keep telling people, and I keep telling some of my friends. The fact that a job stated that the closing period or the deadline for application happens to be 2 weeks later does not mean you should sit back and wait until 2 weeks later before you go ahead applying. Some people think, oh, it's next 2 weeks. Okay, I still have time to apply. I still have time to apply. Let me tell you, when it comes to recruiters, 2 weeks is going to be a whole lot of time. Some of them want to close the role, close it for the client, and go on. There's this thing I do. I particularly, whenever I'm working and I'm trying to post a job description, I try to tag whatever job I'm posting. I just have this particular timeline. I just have a way of putting it 1 month. So I, as a recruiter, whenever I post out a job, I attach 4 weeks, which is a month. But that does not mean that that job is going to last till 4 weeks. Sometimes you can close that role, that particular role in a week. Sometimes you've closed it in 2 weeks. So imagine the role has been closed in the second week and you're applying third week, fourth week because application was still open because it has not gotten to the deadline which I sent out. You're not applying by then thinking, oh, they will see application. You might be the best candidate for that role, but you're applying late. And recruiters, they are very fast. In as much as they are not the most patient people, they are very fast in trying to review CVs. That review of CV could start that exact day. There are days I post out jobs. I could come out in the morning around 8 a.m. I could post out a job, and before 12 noon or 1, I am already reviewing those that applied because I want to go ahead and shortlist and start the first process of the interview so that I can interview, move you to the client, have the interview. There are different stages I have to go through. So I might want to start that very day to start reviewing applications. So the stages will start counting already for me because I want to close that job, get my commission and get going. So you applying thinking that because the deadline of application has not reached, you still have time. I'm telling you that once it comes to recruiters, that is a very wrong step. You might be applying too late. You're applying probably when they are done with the list. By the time they are done with the list and they've taken people that they want, and they're already in different stages and is already approaching time for employment later, giving the candidate employment later. Whatever application you're doing right down as about that time is just there. The only thing is you end up being their pipeline. You end up being recruiters' pipeline. So that when they need such role again, they can also go back to that list. But by then it might take months. Sometimes it take years. I will not lie. Sometimes because when I got employed as a recruiter in my company, I had to start reviewing some applications from the previous year. That's how to tell you. So sometimes you might not be so patient to wait for a whole year for you to be employed. I don't know how you want to stay jobless for 1 year for you to not be employed. So the time you apply is very necessary. Whenever you see a job post and they have posted it out there, whatever requirement and things that you need to do, do it as soon as you can and actually apply for that job. Apply for that job and stop waiting for deadline of application. All right. Another thing that could happen in the process of trying to narrow down this application down to 5 or 7 or 10 people, that's from the 20 people I already shortlisted from the 200 application. Another thing that could happen during this process is you actually not making your CV result driven, not making your CV result driven or copying generic description and pasting it to your CV. This could actually make us disqualify you at that particular stage or at that particular point in time. Your CV might be okay, you might be the best candidate, you might be the perfect candidate for that job, but just because I am looking at your CV, I'm not seeing results, I'm not seeing what you ended up achieving, I'm not seeing the duration of time you ended up achieving it. You did not state what your achievements were. People keep saying make your CV result driven instead of just description. Instead of going to your CV to say manage a customer's complaint, what happened when you manage that customer's complaint? That is what we want to know. What happened when you manage that customer's complaint? What results did you get? What was the outcome of you managing customers' complaints? Not coming to your CV to say I manage customers' complaints or manage customers' complaints. What we want to know is the outcome of you being able to manage customers' complaints, right? So make it evidence. Put your CV and make it an evidence CV and not just generic description CV. Make sure your responsibility for every role is results driven. All right. So that is it for this video. If this video is something that interests you and some of these things are things you want to hear and things you just want to get insight from the recruiter's point of view to know how they actually feel whenever you send out application, even before you send out application. If this is something that interests you, hit on that subscribe button right there. I keep saying it. If commenting is not something you wish to do, you can just like the video so that YouTube will know that this was impactful and this will help other people or other job seekers, all right? So that you can push it forward to other people that this information might be of help to. All right, that's it for the end of this video. For now, Recruiter Cynthia says, bye-bye.